Hey, how we doing? We're here with section 5.8. We're going to look at using the square root property. Um, Assignment for tomorrow that you're probably going to be working on in class, numbers 30 through 47. So that's all the stuff we're going to be talking about here. Alright, so solving a quadratic equation by finding its square root. Big thing that we have to do is what they say, isolate the squared expression. What that means is that whatever our square root, our square thing is, here the x squared, whatever it is, we need to get it by itself so that it says x squared equals whatever. And in this case, that means we're going to add our 108 to both sides, get it over here, divide by our 3, and that's how we get our x squared all by itself. So first thing we need to do is we need to get x squared all by itself equal to the other stuff, which usually will come down to one number. So from there, well, how do we get rid of a square? We take the square root. So we take the square root of both sides, and those two things kind of cancel, and just leave x equals. Now when we take the square root of something, square root of 36, what things can multiply to make 36? Well, 6 times 6 works, but also negative 6 times negative 6 gives us that same 36. So every time that we do one of these square root things, we are always going to get this plus minus situation. It could be positive 6 or it could have been negative 6, and we don't know. So we get basically here plus or minus 6, which if you want to split it up, you can write it as negative 6 or as positive 6. We don't know which one of those two situations it was. So every time we're doing these, you're going to get two answers here. Alright, so nice easy one. X squared equals 121. So in order to cancel out the x squared, we need to take the square root. So we take the square root of 121. As soon as we do that, we put our plus minus in front because it's going to be the positive and the negative version of whatever the square root of 121 is, which hopefully you're thinking on yourself, hey, it's 11. So we get plus or minus 11. 121, square root of it is 11. 11 times 11 makes 121. So if you want to write that, or you can write x equals negative 11 or positive 11. And that's it. So hit pause, go ahead and give this one a try on your own. Remember that you are going to have to simplify your square root. Obviously the square root of 75 is not a nice easy one like 121 was. So simplify it. Put your plus minus in front. Alright, example number 3. What we've got different here is it doesn't say x squared equals. We've got x squared minus 7 equals. Well, that means we've got to get that 7 switched over to the other side. So x squared equals 7. Now we can go ahead and use our square root property, take the square root so that that cancels and we get x equals plus or minus, what's the square root of 7? I don't know, something. And that's it. X equals plus or minus the square root of 7. If I could simplify this like that last problem that you did on your own, then I would. But in this case I can't. So we move on. Give this one a try. Think about how are you going to move this over to the other side and take your square root. And then remember, hey, sometimes negative square roots happen, and what does that do? I think you're going to do great. So go ahead and hit pause. Give example 4 a try. Alright, here at example 5. Things are even weirder now. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. But our goal is to make sure that we get x squared equals down here somewhere. So what's in the way? Well, first, this negative 39. We've got to get that out of here. So I'm going to add 39 to both sides. Gives me 3x squared equals 39. Next, we got to get rid of that 3, so I'm going to divide by 3. And that cancels, gives me my x squared equals 39 divided by 3 gives me 13. Take my square root of both sides and I get x equals plus or minus the square root of 13. And again, 13 prime number, nothing to simplify here. We feel good, we put it in a box and we walk away. Example number 6, here's your chance. Think about moving that 14, then moving that 2 and taking your square root and seeing what's going to happen. Might be a negative square root, might get your I involved again. So go ahead and give that a try. Hit pause. Alright, so now this is where stuff gets real. All kinds of mess going on over here. Well, it's not just a plain x squared now. It's a parentheses of stuff squared. So what we need to do is we need to get this whole thing all by itself. Well, what's in the way of getting that whole thing by itself? This 2 out front. So we divide by 2. It's okay. It's just like if we had 2x equals 162 and we divide by 2. It's the same thing, only now instead of just x, it's this big, huge parentheses squared ugly thing. And it's alright. So now we got our thing squared equals 81. We're going to do things just like normal. I'm going to take the square root of both sides, because we treat this whole parenthesis group like it's just one thing. It's one thing that we can't just split up yet. So my square root is going to cancel that square over here and leave me with my 2n minus 5. Well, what's the square root of 81? 9. So that equals my plus or minus 9. Now this is where things get a little bit tricky and you're probably going to be very upset with me. We don't know whether it's positive 9 or negative 9, so we need to solve this for both situations. We set up one equation over here where it's equal to the positive 9, and we set up a second equation where it's equal to the negative 9. You may remember doing something like this way back in Algebra 1. You do stuff like this with our absolute values that I think we touched upon earlier this year. So you're going to deal with the plus and minus version of the 9. You're going to solve both of them. But the nice thing is both times you're going to do the same steps. We add my 5 to get the 14, divide by 2 to get my 7. You're going to do the same thing over here. Add your 5, divide by 2, and we get our 2 answers. So the steps aren't hard. They just get to be a few more of them. And so you get upset and you're like, oh, I really got to do this. Yeah, it's okay. So let's give this one a try here. My parentheses thing squared is already by itself, so I'm ready to just take my square root. That gives me x minus 3 is equal to plus or minus, and the square root of 25 is 5. So, split it up. Maybe x minus 3 equals 5. Maybe x minus 3 equals negative 5. Kind of doing both situations. But either way, we're just going to add 3 to both sides. Here I get 8. Add 3 to both sides. And here I get negative 5 plus 3 is minus 2. If you have trouble with those, think about 5 negatives, 1, 2, 3 positives. These guys all cancel out. Leaves me with my negative 2 down here. Gets me so sad all the times we look at tests and kids do things right, but it's those stupid negatives and positives that end up getting us things wrong. Alright, example number 8. Same situation going on here. We're ready to take our square root. X plus 4 equals, well, do I know what the square root of 17 is? No. It's 16 we do, but 17 we don't. Can we simplify 17? No. So we just leave it. It's alright. And this is what kind of neat part of little math here. I like this stuff. Well, we got a plus or minus 17 here. I'm just going to subtract 4 from both sides because I need x by itself, right? So x equals, well, do I know how to put all this together? Nope. So I just write minus 4 plus or minus square root of 17. And we walk away. Can't do anything. Can't put the 4 together with the root 17 because it doesn't simplify. So we just leave it like this. Negative 4 plus or minus that root 17. That's the kind of stuff that makes me happy. Alright, example 9. Again, all by itself. We're ready to go. So I get 2x plus 3 equals square root of 25 is 5. So I get my plus minus 5. So now we're going to want to split things up and check the positive and the negative version of this and see which our two different answers are going to be. So 2x plus 3 equals positive 5. 2x plus 3 equals negative 5. So everything's exactly the same. We just got a positive 5 here and a negative 5 there. Alright, I'm going to solve these out real fast. Bam! That's how quick I am. So, doing the exact same steps here. Subtract 3 gives me 2. Divide by 2 gives me 1. Over here, the only difference is when I subtract 3, this is a negative, so it makes a bigger negative. Still got the same cancel, cancel, and this gives me a negative 4 here. So there's my two different answers. And if you don't trust your answers, you're always welcome to go back, plug them in right here. Let's try the 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 3 makes 5. 5 squared gives us 25. Try the negative 4. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8 plus 3 gives me negative 5. And when I square it, it gets me right back to that 25. All is well with the world. Alright, don't be scared. Give example 10 a try. Take your square root, split into your two different situations. I think this one might be a little bit easier because who knows what the square root of 10 is? I don't. So it's going to be a little bit simpler. Alright, last little situation here, and I know you look excited because you're like, man, I love word problems and I just can't wait to read paragraphs like this and figure out what's going on. Well, this is a commonly used formula where we figure out models for dropping things. Ironically, the weight of stuff, if you drop it, doesn't really matter. It's only wind resistance that matters. So what this does is this takes our initial height right here. So the h of 0, that's where it starts out, where we're dropping it from. Are we dropping it from 5 feet off the ground or 500 feet off the ground? That's what that is. This is our height at any given time based on time. So where we started it, well, how long we've dropped it. So 3 seconds after we dropped it, half a second, and that tells us our height. The only type of problem that we're going to do is it's going to tell us what our original height is and what happens, how long it takes to hit the ground. Well, our original height is always going to be right here. So our 81 is going to go in there for the h sub 0, that's where we start. And since it hits the ground, well, how far off the ground is it if it's on the ground? 0. And so that 0 is always going to just kind of stick there in the front. So every time we're going to plug these two numbers in these kind of same spots here. 0 right here because that's when it hits the ground, and 81 right here because that's when it starts. What we're going to do is we're going to try and solve for that t. Now, we want to get the t squared by itself, so one way we could do that is we could subtract 81. But then everything's negative and that's annoying. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to always add the 16t squared plus 16t squared. Since it's with 0, it just looks like this. Next step is we're always going to divide by that 16. So that gets me 81 over 16 here. After that cancels out. How do we get rid of the t squared? Well, we get rid of the square by taking the square root. And this is one of those situations where we can split it and do square root of 81 over the square root of 16. Square root of 81 is 9, square root of 16 is 4. And what we really get is our plus minus version. But let's think about it. Is it going to be a negative time in order to get ourselves down as it falls? No. It's not going to take a negative amount of time to fall to the ground. It's got to take a positive amount of time. If you can figure out how to use negative time in your life and go backwards, well, let me know and we can go make a lot of money using that technology. So we're not going to be able to. It's always going to be the positive version. And the weird thing about when you're doing an actual answer that involves something real in a story problem is this is when we actually have to do 9 divided by 4 and get that 2.25 seconds. Because a real life situation, 9 over 4 doesn't really help us out very much, but 2.25 seconds does. It gives us a better idea of what's going on. So let's do this one here. We're going to start 0 equals negative 16t squared plus 64. So we're going to move this over. 16t squared equals 64. And we're going to divide by 16. T squared equals 64 over 16. Take our square root. Square root of 64 is 8 over 4, gives us 2. So we end up with 2 seconds. Give that last one a try, and have a lovely afternoon.